You don't need a lot of pencils. You can even do this with just one pencil. But if you do have a bunch of different pencils, pick a really hard one like a 4H or a 2H, 3H, something with an H. And then pick a middle one like an HB. For Americans, that's a number 2 pencil. And then you're going to choose something softer like a 4B or 3B or even something softer than that. We're going to use the 4H for guidelines, and then the HB will be for the main drawing, and the 4B for shading. You're also going to need an eraser and a pencil sharpener. With your 4H pencil, mark out the top and bottom of the hand. Find the halfway point. From the halfway to the bottom, you're going to draw a square. Draw these in very lightly because these are guidelines. Okay, I have my square. Now I'm going to start taking pieces off of that square. Just cut off that top left corner and cut off the bottom left. You can see I'm making little triangles here. Now about halfway down that square, I'm going to draw another triangle, this time outside of the square. And I'll put in the wrist. That's just 2 lines. On this diagonal here, I'm going to draw where the pinky and ring fingers will be. And here's the middle finger and the index finger. They're on top of that square. The index finger goes almost to the top, the middle finger right to the top. The ring finger is about the same length as the index finger. This will vary from person to person. It can be either longer, slightly longer than the index, or slightly shorter, but about the same length. And then the pinky. Same thing with the thumb. So we have the overall structure of our hand. Let's work on these fingers a little bit more. These are just roughed in circles. The first knuckle is just below the halfway point, and the second one about halfway between that knuckle and the end. And remember, only one knuckle for the thumb. Now that I have these knuckle guidelines in, I'm going to put in some rectangles. This will help me establish the width of my fingers. So draw these rectangles to about the middle part of these circles. Notice that I'm leaving some spaces between the fingers. I'm probably leaving a little too much here, but we can correct that. You do need to leave some spaces between these fingers. And I'm just going to cut off that square at the corner there. You notice the second section of the finger here, or phalanges, are not as long as the first ones. And then we move to the final part of the fingers. These are just upside down U shapes or arch shapes, whatever you want to call them. And the thumb, I'm going to put in a kind of quarter circle here. And now we'll go for the very rough guidelines for the palm. Take a look at your own hand as a reference for this. And you have this quarter circle that sweeps down into the wrist and joins at the bottom of the thumb there. And we have another major line here. And a last one. Again, you can use your own reference. Okay, that's it for the 4H. I'm going to put that one down. I'm going to choose a slightly softer pencil. This is an HB or a number 2 pencil. Now the idea here is to turn all of these straight lines into curved lines. I'm going to pay attention to the knuckle there at the thumb. Come up the thumb and all the way to the top. It's quite straight and round it off. You see I'm making adjustments to the width of the finger here. I'm making the thumb slightly wider. There are a couple of creases here. The thumb does extend into the palm and a little crease. You can work with a photographic reference when you're doing this, or you can do it from memory if you have enough practice. I'll draw down the other side of the palm. You notice that I'm bringing it in slightly. You don't have to stick to those guidelines. You can adjust them more narrow or wide as you like. I notice obviously now that my wrist is too wide, so I'm going to bring it in on both sides, and that's just a line. Let's work on the outline for the fingers now. And a tiny, tiny U shape. I'm just going to repeat this process now for all of the fingers. You see how I'm following the guidelines and making small adjustments to the width. From this angle, my pinky finger looks too long. Yeah. It's hard to draw with a camera in my way, so I have made the pinky too long. I'm just going to go in there with an eraser and correct that. I'm going to leave this in the edit because I think it's really important for you guys to see that even a professional artist can struggle with proportions sometimes, and it's okay to go in, make those adjustments, and correct your drawing when you see that you need to make a change. Let's put in these major creases in the finger now, and these are where the finger bends. I'm just putting in 2 lines. Most people have 2 lines here. You're also going to see some creases at the bottoms of the fingers, and that's 1 or 2 lines as well. I can darken up those major creases in the palm. I'm going to put some smaller creases in afterwards when we get to the detail part. But for now, just to sort of indicate where I'd like these to go. That's going to be it for the outlining portion. Put away that HB now, and let's pull out a softer pencil. This is a 4B. Now we're not going to use the top of the pencil, we're going to use the side of the pencil. You can adjust your grip to this style here. Hold the pencil way at the back, and that will help you use the side of your pencil so that it's almost flat with the paper. You start with that side of the thumb there. Don't worry about getting it too dark immediately. It's better to build it up. So you put down a shade and you say, is that dark enough or not? And then you can go back in and make it darker. Why do we shade the sides more than the middle? Well, the sides are where the light is falling away. I'll just shade in the creases of the palm here and on the side of the wrist. And the shape of the hand falls away on the other side as well. So I'm going to shade up that palm and on the left side of each finger as well. I'll come back and shade the right side of each finger. You notice I haven't really erased any of my guidelines. You can do that before you start shading. It's always easier to erase them before you start shading than after. But if your guidelines are light enough, you don't really have to erase. That's just a personal choice. Okay, now I'm going to grab that harder pencil again, that 4H, the one we used for the guidelines. And I'm going to put in some smaller details, little wrinkles, little fingerprints. Just kind of go over the whole hand. I'm using my own hand as a reference here. Your wrinkles are going to be slightly different, but that's okay. You just put them wherever you want, as long as they are according to some kind of reference if you're going for realism. Unless you're going for hyper realism, don't put in too many lines. You just want to kind of give an indication all around the hand. Thank you so much for joining me on this longer version of the video. If you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. I do try to read all of the comments. I hope you have a wonderful creative week, and remember to draw more.